We live in an age where empirical science and ancient traditions often seem to occupy completely opposite ends of the human experience. If you studied modern physics and biology, it is easy to look at ancient rituals and dismiss them as out of touch with reality. Take the Indian Panchangam. The Panchangam is a traditional Hindu calendar and almanac that tracks daily astronomical movements. To a modern, scientifically trained mind, gathering once a year to hear an almanac's predictions can initially sound like pure superstition or mystical fortune-telling. But the structure beneath these predictions is highly specific. For example, the Telugu lunar calendar operates on a continuous, repeating loop. This loop is exactly 60 years long, and every single year within that cycle carries its own unique name. Which brings up an obvious question. Why organize time into a 60-year block? We humans love base 10 metrics. We celebrate 50-year half-centuries and 100-year centuries. So why did ancient scholars lock their calendar to the number 60? As it turns out, 60 is not an arbitrary number pulled from thin air. It's a precise mathematical calculation anchored entirely in planetary astronomy. To understand this calendar, we have to look past our own planet and out into the broader solar system. Specifically, we need to focus on the sheer gravitational weight of the two largest gas giants orbiting our Sun. This image shows Jupiter, a planet so massive and so far out in the solar system that its orbital mechanics are drastically slower than ours. To make one complete trip around the Sun, Jupiter takes 12 Earth years. And this photograph shows Saturn. Sitting even further out in the dark, its journey is much slower. It takes 30 Earth years for Saturn to complete a single orbit. Thousands of years ago, long before the invention of the modern telescope, ancient Indian astronomers accurately calculated the deliberate pacing of these two massive planets. They took these distinct orbital periods and used them as the definitive hands of a cosmic clock. This diagram synchronizes those drastically different orbits using the least common multiple. When you calculate the LCM of Jupiter's 12-year cycle and Saturn's 30-year cycle, the math is perfectly clean. The two planets align in the exact same relative position every 60 years. That 60-year celestial alignment became the bedrock of the Panchangam. But the scholars weren't using this purely to write personal horoscopes. They were building a critical tool for societal survival. This photograph captures traditional agricultural labor in India, work that depends entirely on natural cycles. By tracking these long-term planetary movements, early astronomers realized they could anticipate shifting earthly weather patterns and, consequently, local seasonal crop yields. Look at the density of this vintage marketplace. If you know a specific weather pattern will result in an abundant harvest, you can forecast a high agricultural supply. High supply meets steady demand, which naturally drives down the price of food. These astronomical insights allowed scholars to embed economic safeguards directly into the almanac. By mathematically linking planetary cycles to agricultural supply and demand, they provided ancient societies with a sophisticated method for stabilizing prices and managing food stores years in advance. Viewed through a modern lens, the Panchangam functions as a statistical model indicating what is highly probable in a given year. Take, for instance, a specific calendar year named Parabhava. A superficial reading in modern Telugu suggests a prediction of insult, defeat, or bad luck. This animation breaks the word down to its roots. Para represents Parvati, the ancient embodiment of energy, or Adi Shakti. Bhava represents Shiva, the embodiment of matter. Together on the scale, Parabhava signifies a time when energy and matter are in perfect balance, offering equal protection. This linguistic reinterpretation offers an assurance of balanced, divine protection against the year's challenges, framing the period as a time of stability rather than inevitable doom. When you analyze these ancient texts with an eye toward their original logic, you uncover a highly sophisticated framework that is designed specifically to build psychological resilience in the face of uncertainty. The ultimate socioeconomic purpose of these statistical models was to keep the community alert, aware of the probabilities, and actively preparing for what's next. Operating with that kind of open, prepared mindset gives a society a massive advantage. It allows both local leaders and everyday citizens to anticipate political turbulence, build contingency plans, and adapt to shifting market realities without panicking. Ancient cultures utilized advanced observational mathematics to calculate risk, ensuring their society was capable of surviving and thriving through the next 60 years.